You've tuned into The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the city of St. Augustine works, from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Manager, Melissa Whistle, The Break Room offers a closer look at the city's programs and provides updates on current and upcoming projects. And now, your host for The Break Room, Melissa Whistle.
Welcome to The Break Room. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Manager for the City of St. Augustine. This week on The Break Room, we are talking with Mike McLendon, Construction Inspector for the City of St. Augustine. Mike, it's your first time in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Construction Inspector. So when I look around the city and I see all the kind of construction projects that we have going on, and you are the Construction Inspector, I can't imagine how busy you must be.
Yes, it's pretty busy time for our city. I work on a wide range of projects, and right now we are moving full steam with various projects, capital improvement, development related, and it's incredible how much construction is going on right now throughout the city.
We've had conversations with your counterparts. Jonathan Foster has talked to us about utility projects in West Augustine and Lincolnville. We've also spoken with Jessica Beach about stormwater projects, Davis Shores and Fullerwood, all across the city. At the end of the day, where do you fit into all of these public works projects? Let's talk about what you do.
I like to think of myself as the eyes and ears out in the field. Basically, I'm an extension of our office that is on site while these projects are being constructed. I like to think of myself as basically their eyes and ears.
Okay.
And I bring any problems or issues that we find during construction back to the office for our engineering staff to evaluate and address if necessary.
Things like talking like utility and stormwater, you get underground.
Mm-hmm.
Something's not quite the way you think it's supposed to be.
Right. Well, we do live in the oldest city in the nation, so as you can expect, it's just like any other construction project. When we start to excavate and dig around out there in the field, a lot of times conditions are different than what we're expecting to find. We can find anything from old bridges that are buried to, pavement that was laid down in Henry Flagler's time frame.
Oh, wow.
And you might not expect that by looking at the surface features of the streets or roads, but they sure as heck are there. Absolutely.
Commercial projects as well. So it's not just roads, streets, utilities. You've also got big commercial, which I know a lot of people don't like the development, but it's coming and we have to adapt, and you're out there seeing it.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. We don't want to see overdevelopment, but we do want our community to grow. Development it consists of homes, subdivisions, apartment complexes, but it also includes things like department stores, like Lowe's was a big project that I worked on. We've got a number of restaurants that are opening up or have opened up, and those are necessary for our community to grow.
Right. Very true. Very true. Talking about more construction, residential, in not just the apartments, but talking construction, you've got sidewalks, driveways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, during the residential construction is a big part of what we do. Numbers-wise, the number of residential units that come online, dwarf the commercial units by the number. When you talk about a residential development, you've got a lot of things to consider, and driveways and their approach to the city infrastructure is a little different than other projects.
Okay. What do you see as the biggest challenge with your job?
I would say just the sheer volume of construction. One of my challenges is trying to be on all these sites at the same time. Time management is a big factor for our job as inspectors. So we try to be as timely as possible and present during the construction. Actually being in the field on site is important.
And there's a lot you and I were talking, there's sort of a flow of there needs to be a need, concept.
Well,
We have to, you want to go through some of that we talked about?
By the time a project lands on my desk, it's already been through a lot of phases here at the city. And depending on what type of project, it could have been in the owner's mind for many, many months or years before they came to the city and said they want to do something. So there's a whole sequence, a workflow, if you will, whereby you discover a need for a project. Then I would say you would do your due diligence, and then you would embark on the design. And then from that point, you would get it permitted. You'd meet all the regulatory requirements, and then you would move into construction. And so by the time I pick up a project, this project has been in the works for usually years.
Okay. Even things like the Lake Mary Sanchez project and the utility projects we've talked about that are going on. We talk about Lake Mary Sanchez like it's going to happen next month.
Right.
Or next year even for that matter, but it's still, we're into design phase.
I would say design, the due diligence, basically, again, I'm in the construction segment, so that due diligence, the conceptual design and the engineering, that's all done before I pick up a project. Ideally, when a project lands on my desk, it is ready to be built and all the problems have been fleshed out. So
if it comes across your desk, we can pretty much guarantee it's going to happen.
That's right. It's going to get built.
Right. You're listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Manager for the City of St. Augustine. In the studio this week, I have Mike McLendon joining us. He is the Construction Inspector for the City of St. Augustine, and we're talking about construction inspections. One of the things you and I have spoken about, Mike, is driveways. We touched on it a little bit before, and you mentioned everybody's got one.
Right.
But I don't know that people really appreciate the significance of your driveway. And I know when you and I were talking about coming on today, this is really something you kind of want to get a message home here. So feel free to tell us all about driveways.
Well, frankly, when you approached me about this, I thought it would be good to talk about something that just about every citizen is going to interact with. I could go on and on about, utility construction or roadway construction, but frankly, every single person in the city of St. Augustine has a driveway, and frankly, I don't think people really appreciate what that actually is. And it's your doorstep to the city. You leave your property and join our city property, and basically it's your connection to the outside world. And so consequently, we do have regulations and a permitting process so that people can build new driveways or reconstruct old driveways.
Okay.
And so I think that, a lot of times people aren't clear on where those requirements are. And basically it's, if you leave your property line at the right-of-way line and get into that right-of-way, you pretty much have to get a permit to do any work in the right-of-way. And the biggest right-of-way permit group would be driveways.
Okay.
And I think that, everybody should consider, how they're going to actually construct their driveway or redo their driveway in a way that serves themselves and the city a little better.
Right.
There are intricacies, believe it or not, to building a driveway. And, it's probably one of my favorite jobs that I do within this inspection routine is driveway inspections, because I actually interact with the residents and citizens of our city. And, it's a good chance for me to get out and meet the people. And it's just a fun, side segment of my work that I do enjoy.
I know that I live on a street where my driveway is mine's a newer construction. My in-laws live 2 blocks over, but theirs is an older construction, and they have that
transition.
The transition that's when you back out, ka-gunk, and you back out on the next 2 tires, and it's ta-dunk, ta-dunk. And I know several years ago, without selling them out, my father-in-law thought about putting bricks in it because it was a real nuisance to going in and out of the driveway. But the problem with that is it interferes with
the curb
runoff and drainage. Talk about that a little bit with the drainage, why that's so important.
Well, the curb line of your streets and roads is part of the drainage network for the city's drainage system. It's a very important part of our drainage network. So that would be the street and gutter. And I think that a lot of times people don't consider how their driveway is actually transitioning from the street to their property. In some cases, a flat transition is okay and will work. But in most cases, a smooth, flat transition will actually create what we call bird baths or puddles in your driveway, whereby there's drainage in the street that then comes into your driveway, and it'll settle out mud and different material and debris. And so we do like to see a small lip, quote unquote, at the edge of the driveway. Usually a 3/4 to 1.5 inch is a comfortable wheel transition.
Right.
That gadunk
right.
as you pass over it. You don't want that to be an extreme transition, but you do want a little bit of a lip there to keep your drainage in the street.
And one last topic before we go. How about sidewalks? Sidewalks are, some people have them, some people don't. Some people like them, some people don't.
Right. Yeah, we just did a big sidewalk project on South Street in Lincolnville. There was some debate within the Lincolnville community as to, whether to install that sidewalk or not. And I think eventually, once the sidewalk was done, overall the community was happy with it, with having that added feature, and that safe passage for walkers or bikers or anybody who wants to get out and enjoy the area. Sidewalks can be piecewise in certain neighborhoods. You might see some lots that have sidewalks and some that don't. It really depends on where you're at and what the conditions are, say to the left or right of your property. If you have a piece of property and there's sidewalk to the left and sidewalk to the right, chances are you're probably going to have to install a sidewalk to connect those two pieces. In some areas, there will be one piece of sidewalk in front of one property on the whole street. At that point, it's questionable whether we have to connect to that type of thing.
But I shouldn't go out and just take out my sidewalk if I'm trying to resod my yard.
Right. Yeah. If there's a section of sidewalk in front of your house, you're technically not allowed to remove that sidewalk.
Well, we'll make sure to keep those sidewalks open. I find we had that debate same in Davis Shores too, that putting sidewalks in or not, as to whether or not which side of the street they should go on.
That's always the debate.
You want it, but not in your backyard or in your front yard for that matter, as a sidewalk.
Yeah, and that it comes down to constructability. If we choose to add a sidewalk, if a neighborhood in the city see fit to add a sidewalk to a certain area, there is a lot of that due diligence to see which side of the street will accommodate the sidewalk. Whether there's telephone poles on one side of the street that would interfere with passage on a sidewalk, we would look to the other side of the street. And there's a lot of factors that go into choosing exactly where the sidewalk is going to be installed. Right.
Well, sidewalks and driveways, everybody's got a driveway just about. A lot of people have sidewalks. If they've got questions, they can call the Public Works Department at 825-1040. And we have a permit coordinator.
Kim Oglesby. She'll help you navigate our permitting requirements. There's a small fee for getting these right-of-way permits, depending on what you're looking to do. And Kim Oglesby will walk you through all that.
And we've also got a nice big purple button right there on the homepage of the website. It says Permits and Forms. So
that's right.
They go to the website. Homepage of the website is citysanog.com. Permits and Forms, and then, of course, getting in touch with Kim in the Public Works Department. And then we'll meet you out when our construction project is about ready to go.
That's right.
Mike, thanks so much for coming to the break room, and we'll have you back to talk about more construction projects.
Great. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
As we wrap up another edition of the break room, I hope we answered your questions. If we didn't, take a minute and drop an email. Send that to info@citysanog.com. Let me know what we missed, or if there's someone you would like to hear from. We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it here from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. In order to stay connected, you need to be connected. Like us and follow us on any of our social media platforms. You'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City St. Aug. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program about projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. We hope you'll join us each week as host Melissa Whistle and her guests have a conversation that helps you better understand how our city works to meet the needs of our community. See you next time on The Break Room.